Good morning, good morning, everybody. Today you are watching the Blackout live from New York with me, your host, Tasemere. I'm so excited to be here. Can't wait to introduce one of my dynamic guests. That's right, we are changing up the platform for today. And so today, instead of doing what I usually do, which is reviewing different articles with you guys and giving my commentary around how it impacts the Black community and Black economics, I wanted to bring in someone that I think is super dope. I can't wait for you guys to meet her. Her name is Kenyetta S Rose. She's a friend, a colleague, someone that I, in many ways, admire the things that she is doing out in Colorado. She's a former New Yorker. I wanted to just give you guys a little background on what we do here at the Blackout. So the Blackout live from New York with me, your host, Tasemere's purpose is to celebrate Black folks across the diaspora and to have an open dialogue about Black economics, how we reimagine trends in business, and explore the magic that we have. So I'm just going to give you guys a couple more minutes to get some more folks in the room while I get ready to introduce Kenyetta. But I wanted to just get you guys' temperature about what has been going on in the world this week. What do you guys think about some topics that maybe we've covered in the past, things that you see that are trends now? I am really obsessed with Chicago, so we're definitely going to be talking about Chicago next week. Super obsessed with what's going on out there. I know that the mayor of Chicago has now been on the brink of losing about 40 to 50% of the police force because of these vaccine mandates. And so definitely wanted to touch on that. I know that that is such a controversial topic. Some folks are vaccinated, some folks aren't vaccinated. What does this all mean? How does this all look? How do we continue to move a city forward, but then absolutely focus and zeroing in on Black economics? How does this impact Black communities from, being able to work, not being able to work, being able to keep your neighborhood safe, clean, all these other things? What does this mean for how we now engage with work? So I definitely wanted to bring that up because I think that that's something that we need to make sure that we are aware of and considering and having on our minds. If anybody wants to jump in before I bring up Kenyetta to talk about that topic really quickly, I would love, 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 love your feedback. Hey, Larry, what's up? Leroy, what's up? How are you? Leroy, I have been communicating with him. I actually attended one of his Clubhouse rooms. And so let's talk about Clubhouse for a moment. I know that I'm bringing up my guest, Kenyetta Rose, but this just came to mind. Let's dig into Clubhouse for a bit. Clubhouse is a new platform, not so new for some people, newish for others. And it is a way for you to create rooms. And so you can create a room or you can join a room and have these discussions. And what I find is so interesting about Clubhouse is that you're able to connect with people that you probably didn't even know existed before, right? And so you're able to now broaden your understanding. And for me, focused on the Black diaspora, I think that that's totally, totally dynamic. I've met some folks there that I had no clue what their business was, didn't even know that they were a founder or an entrepreneur at all. And I think that it's a platform that we should consider leveraging a little bit more than we do other platforms, because you really are able to, garner a lot of experience. What do you guys think about Clubhouse? Good morning, Rico. How are you this morning? So let's jump into the topic that Kenyetta is going to be talking about today. She is basically the founder of something called Six, okay, Six Gen Venture Studios, and I want to give it some justice. And I'm not going to overdo it because I want her to be able to explain it. But Six Gen Venture Studios, from my understanding, is like a marriage between a business incubator and a venture capital fund. And if you guys aren't familiar with what venture capital even is, this is when people are talking about raising that money. When you see startups, especially when you think of tech startups, right? So this is something that a lot of tech companies do. They will go and raise money based on an idea. And based on the idea, they might get investors. And the investors might look like different types of folks, right? They might be folks that are really invested in seeing your business idea come to fruition, or they are people that just want to, get on early to be able to cash out later on. And so there's different types of funds that Black folks try to go to, but we know that it's really challenging for Black folks to get angel investors. And so you're looking for angel investors. You're trying to figure out how to get into the market. You're trying to figure out how to pitch yourself to these folks. And sometimes that can be a little daunting. And so Kenyetta is working on, or has worked on, basically launching her own venture capital studio, right? And focusing on Black entrepreneurs and how to really support their growth. And make sure that they're scalable and sizable. And she's going to go into all this talk about what that looks like and what that means, but at the same time, how to connect to investors and giving Black entrepreneurs the skinny on, how to know that an investor is where you need them to be. Hold on for 1 second, folks. Sorry, you guys, I had an interruption. Sorry about that. But to jump back into what I was saying, you're basically trying to figure out the best kind of investor for your business, because having the wrong investor, making the wrong deal can definitely jack you up when you are just trying to either launch your business or scale your business. There's so many terms, new terms like equity, like cap table, all these other things that you definitely want to try to have a clearer understanding about what it is. So without further ado, I'm definitely going to bring Kenyetta S Rose to the stage. I'll start off by, introducing her to the people out there, and then we're going to jump right into our topic.
Good morning,
Kenyetta. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. I'm just noticed I'm having a little. How's it going?
Good. So I wanted to start off with you just letting people know, who are you? Like what do you do? Who are you? What is your background? And what is this Six Gen Venture Studio deal about? What is that about?
Yeah, great. So, well, first off, good morning in
Good
Eastern and Mountain
morning.
Time. Can you hear me? Is there like an echo?
No, we feel you.
You
We
can hear
hear
me
you
clear?
just fine.
Okay, good. Yes. So, I am Kenyetta S Rose, and the founder of Six Gen Labs. And pretty much Six Gen Labs, the whole purpose of it is to get Black businesses from start to startup to actual companies. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've always wondered, we see a lot of Black businesses, right? But how come we don't see a lot of companies? A company is someone who can hire someone. A company is someone where I can say, oh yeah, that company's been around since I was a little kid. A company is something where you say, oh wow, I heard that they were purchased, or they went, or better yet, they went public. And I just haven't been seeing that a lot from Black companies. So that's the whole purpose of 6th Gen Labs, is understanding how do you get a business from being a business or a solopreneur to being an actual company, a company that has employees, a company that has global reach.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that. So now my question is, why now? Why focus on this now? You know, we know about VC firms. Black folks have been trying to figure out this angel investor. Why is now the time that we start to zero in on venture capital and what this whole thing means?
So, well, first, let me clarify it. For me, the focus has really, let me give you a little backstory. Let's do this. Can I give you a quick backstory?
Sure. We got time.
So I took this program. I'm not even going to give them any free advertisement, but think of it as self-help on steroids. And one of the things that, like the third program, when you take it, they ask you, what would you do for your community if there were no money involved? So not even just thinking about business or anything like that, is what do you see in your community that you want to improve, fix? And it would just be your passion project. And for me, immediately, it didn't take long to figure out, is I want to help Black businesses get access to capital. And that came so quickly to me because growing up in Brooklyn, especially Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, we see a lot of shopping in our community, but I never saw any stores by Black people, no Black-owned supermarkets. I lived in Bed-Stuy so many years, I never saw a Black-owned supermarket. Never. I've just never seen it before, right? I think of my entire life, I saw one Black-owned bodega. So that was in 2016. So you asked me why. It was somebody asked me the question, and I said, you know what? That's what I want to do. That would be my passion project. So that's why now. It's just that the question was asked. I decided I wanted to do something about it. And here we are today in 2020. Now, when you mentioned venture capital, when I first started on this journey, I met this woman who actually was a VC. She's a VC and an angel investor. And she was the person who said, oh, what you're talking about is called venture capital. I had never heard of it before. I was just telling her what I wanted to do. I was like, yeah, Black businesses need money and I want to figure out how to get it to them. And she was like, yeah, that's a career. It's called venture capital. And I was like, oh, I never heard of it before. But since then, for me, the conversation has really evolved beyond venture capital to access to capital doesn't have to just be venture capital. That's what's popular to us right now. But there are so many, there's another way. So in 2020, Obama put in place, it wasn't really Obama, I think it was probably written before him, but he definitely was instrumental in getting this passed, was the Jobs Act.
And so wait. Let's put a pin in that, because we need to let people know, what is an angel investor? Because these are terms that I think we hear and we want what we think we know what we want, but we don't really understand what this term even means, right?
Okay.
So in the venture capital world, what is an angel investor?
Right. So an angel investor is someone who's an accredited investor who maybe they have resources. So an accredited investor, let's do this. So let's give the definition for an accredited investor. Accredited investor, by definition of the SEC, which stands for Security Exchange Commission, stands for someone who has a net worth of $1 million. So there's two ways. So it's $1 million net worth, not including your primary home. So as a result of the Dodd Act in 2008, they changed that because, you know, the financial collapse in 2008. So your primary home is no longer considered an asset under the definition of Securities Exchange Commission. So a couple or person who has a net worth of at least $1 million, not including their primary home, or can establish that they are making, I believe it's either 200,000 or 250,000, 2 or 3 years consecutive. So if you're making $250,000, one of the two, it escapes me at the moment, 2 or 3 years consecutively, back to back. If you're married, then you're $350,000, right? prove that's your annual income. It's not an official designation. It's not an accreditation. There's no certificate for it. You would hire a CPA, and then they would establish through your balance sheet or your balance sheet, or you're just kind of just showing your personal net worth, or your income, your tax forms to show how much you've earned annually. So that's an accredited investor as defined by the Securities Exchange Commission.
So now what does this mean for Black folks, right? Because we definitely have Black folks that might be fitting this criteria of being an angel investor, whether they're accredited or not. So how can we, as a Black community in a diaspora of Black people, start to become investors to invest in our own Black-facing businesses? How do we do that? Because we're seeing some of that happen with celebrities are now getting into these A rounds and B rounds and C rounds of raising funds, and they're becoming investors. But I also think that sometimes average, everyday people can also become an investor, no?
So that's a really good point that you bring up. So prior to the Jobs Act, you had to be an accredited investor, right? Because the purpose of it was the Securities Exchange Commission, especially since the stock crash in 1921, 1922, when we had our Great Depression. All of these laws came about subsequently to protect the average investor from losing everything. So prior to the Jobs Act, which I'll get into in just a moment, you had to be an accredited investor, right? So the idea is that you can afford to lose some money. So what was the average Black person able to invest in private opportunities, investment opportunities? Not up until recently, no, right? You had to be an accredited investor. But to your point, yes, now we can invest in startup opportunities. We can invest in early stage opportunities. And you no longer have to be an accredited investor to do that. Now, you probably are getting, I'm not even going to say that. You no longer have to be an accredited investor. How does one get access to early stage opportunity? You get access to early stage opportunity. Average everyday people, my lovely Black people get access to these opportunities by way of equity crowdfunding. So now we have these platforms like Republic and Seed Invest and Start Engine, just to name a few, WeFunder, just to name a few, where you can go onto these platforms and you can purchase equity and startup opportunities, right? Now, what's the difference between startup opportunities and investing in the stock market? So prior to, again, the Jobs Act, we only had opportunities to invest in public companies. So public companies are the companies that we see on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. These are companies that have, a couple years ago, they started VCs, angel investors, and other investors, maybe family and friends, invested in them, built up the equity grew over time by way of, products and customers and just doing well in the marketplace. And then they go public. By the time these companies go public, a lot of the value's already been captured by the early investors, right? So by the time people like you and I got access to these investments, they grow over time, but the real value is seen in the early stages. That's where you really make the most money, right? And then by the time it gets to the secondary market, which is the public market for, ordinary people, you're capturing value, but over time. Most of the value is captured before the company goes public, right? So to answer your question, yes, now everyday people, average people, no longer have to be an accredited investor. But an angel investor, by definition, an angel investor, if you're an angel investor, then that means you have maybe, I would even wager to say $5,000 and up to invest in a company. But if you really want to do some damage, like $100,000 and up, right, as an angel investor. But if you're investing on platforms like WeFunder and others, I guess technically you are an angel investor in many ways, technically. But no, technically you would be an early investor. So I think for me, that's what differentiates an angel investor from ordinary people who are able to invest on these platforms. To me, an angel investor they're probably an accredited investor, and they they can afford to lose a couple $1,000.
So what's holding us back? What's holding us back as everyday Black folks of either starting businesses, right, that are scalable and connecting with these angel investors, or more so Black investors? And then what's holding people back, Black folks again, that have the means to invest, but we are almost conditioned to invest in certain, I want to say, certain products, right? Because right now, like so I'm coming from a perspective of, when something becomes popular and you are now given access, that's because all the value has already been taken out of this thing, and people have already gobbled it up, and now they're like, okay, you can go get the crumbs, right? And so for me, and this might be my layman terms, that's what I see Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is, right? I feel like it has been figured out. The people that figured it out, they already made their money, which is now why they're saying, like, hey, this is this new fancy shiny thing on the market. Come here, you might be able to get something out of it, but we already changed the game. By the time you figure that out, we're already introducing something else that we've already taken money out of, but let me give this to you as a way to now invest, right? That might just be my controversial thought that many people might not subscribe to. But this seems like it allows us to, one, if we're really thinking about building up the Black community and economic base, this may be one of those ways of really investing in each other in a way that is tangible. And that's how we might be able to buy the block, right? Because, like, if I have this amazing business and I know a couple of people that meet those income requirements, one, or I know someone that has $5,000 that's willing to invest in my business, I might not even need that much to scale to the next level. But now someone has seen what I'm doing. They're saying, hey, I love what you're doing. Me and my friends are going to pool together money to invest $10,000 in your business, in your very mom and pop virtual whatever thing. Why aren't we thinking on those terms? What do you think is holding us back?
And that's a great question, and I don't have the answer, which is why I came up with I love that. I was like, let her get it out. It's a great question. I love it. That's why I said 6Gen Labs, because what does a lab do? A lab, it's 6Gen Labs, which is intended to be the fund, and then 6Gen Venture Studios. But when I first came up with the term lab, I said, what do you do in a lab? You test, and you run tests, right? Until you come up with solutions, right? Because here's the thing. Everyone studies their customer, right? Everyone studies. I want to share this with you. I found out that and I'm not going to say the name of the family that's behind it, but there are some people who would probably know. You're probably going to know the name of the family. There is a very, very rich, long-standing family that put together a commission to study the minds of Jews around the world. The purpose of this commission is to understand how are Jews perceiving themselves and the world, and how is the world perceiving Jews. Most importantly, they're studying how they perceive themselves. They're studying the Jewish mind. I was so impressed when I heard that, because I believe that's what we need to do. We need to study our own minds, right? Like, why, right? Like, that's the $1,000,000 question. Why don't we invest in why don't we tend to invest in our own business? Or maybe we are investing and it's just not, we're not doing it on a scale that's impactful. Someone said, I said, we're not trusting. I mean, that could be one reason, right? But I also think we don't know a lot. We don't even know that these platforms exist, right? So it's information gap also. Believe it or not, right? Like, I know, like, people are like, oh, we don't trust each other. We don't give each other money. But there are people Black people who've raised money for their businesses amongst other Black people. When I first had this idea, I wanted a couple years ago, I wanted to start a clothing line. And when I told my friends about it, they put up money and helped me do it. It didn't really scale because it was more of a it was more of a hobby for me. I was just kind of like, oh, let me just kind of test this thing out. But friends and even my grandmother, who does not believe in Black entrepreneurship at all, bless her soul, she just didn't believe that Black people could do anything if they were competent. No, maybe I just misunderstood what she was saying. Like, but when people knew about what I wanted to do, they invested, and there are lots of Black stories like that of Black people who wanted to start their businesses. So I say that to say is not there are Black people who trust each other. We do. I'm even starting to think that the we don't trust each other is a little bit of a myth. Like maybe it's overplayed up, maybe it's played up a little bit too much. So I think it's information gap. I also think that it's the fear of risk, right? Because a lot of us, investing is a risk. You may make your money back, you may not. Businesses fail. The businesses like Twitter, Slack, Airbnb, these businesses were other ideas before they became successful.
Yeah,
And
but let's put a pin in that because I think we do invest because I see people still investing in Birkin bags, Louis Vuitton, and red bottom shoes. Those are not like if you could buy 3 pair of red bottom shoes, you could take that same money and
and
put
so to that point, right? Like there's something also delayed gratification, right? Like a lot of us want to be gratified right now, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
invest, it takes time to see a return on your investment. It takes time. For a venture capitalist, if you're a VC, maybe it may take 2 to 3 years, right? But if you're an angel investor or an ordinary investor, it may take 5 years, 7 years, or even 10 years. That's not an immediate, you don't see the results immediately, right? And with the Birkin bag or Louis or Vuitton, you get immediate gratification, right? So I really, to answer your question succinctly, I don't know, but there's like all of these things in my mind. And so I think we have to begin to study and understand our own mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think if we think that it's an information gap, platforms such as yours and others start putting this information out and we test it. Is it an information gap? Well, let's see. Let's start putting the information out there and see the responses that we get. I don't think it should be a hard stop. We don't trust each other or we are just consumers and that's all. I don't think it should just be a hard stop. I think we have to start thinking the way businesses think and others think. Let's study ourselves. What's really
Well, I
happening?
want to say we had a pretty like dynamic. Hopefully, Zoom doesn't start trolling us of our very revolutionary
Oh
conversation
yeah, we I
yesterday
woke up with that on my mind.
about colonization. Like, let's start from there, right? Like, are we in some way still trapped with our colonizer, relying on them to tell us what is acceptable investment in this instance, since we're talking about Black investment dollars, right? Are we still waiting for the approval that we can enter into something, or are we going to eventually become people that seek comprehension around something? So this was something that Kenyetta and I were talking about yesterday, and I don't even know how we got on that topic, but talking about how we think colonization still plays a major
Oh,
role
absolutely,
in
for
the
sure.
things that we do as Black folks, right?
Yeah.
And how it takes very risky revolutionary people to want to think outside of the confines of their colonizer and looking for approval to do what you want to do. And for
Right.
me, I think how this relates to what we're talking about right now, if we're talking about Black economics and how to buy back the block, I think that the only way that we will truly be able to do that is to be comprehensive, like look for understanding and have some comprehension around what will it take to do and how do we not do it in the way the colonizer is looking for us to do it, because they already laid out that table for us, right? Like this table of being an accredited investor and a this and a that and the blah, 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 blah. But we know that shit don't work for us. We know that's not really going to get us the desired result. What do you think?
Man, you just with the points. I think the colonizer is it's so all right. So my friend said something a couple weeks ago. He said, I think a couple years from now, people are going to look at Black people and they're going to say, well, we did this, we made this more accessible, we did all of this. What did you guys do? So last year, they changed the requirements to be an accredited investor, right? So now you can get licensing to become, there's a Series 7 and 3 other licenses that you can get to become a Series 7. This year, they increased the amount that you can receive from a crowdfunding campaign. I think it was whatever number it was before, it's now 75 million. There's a couple of things happening, right? And every time something new happens, whether it's through a lot of times through the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, I think to myself, wow, if I didn't know any better, I feel like they're trying to make it more accessible. If I didn't know any better, like that's what it seems to me. Like I feel like the barriers to entry are coming down. That's what it looks like to me. That it feels like that. It's like, wow, if I didn't know any better, they're trying to make this thing more accessible. It seems like it's being made just a little easier to even start a fund. Look up Jay Morrison. People are talking smack about that guy. Now, I'm not talking about the performance of his fund. That's another conversation. I'm not an investor. I don't want to sound too controversial. So I don't want to get into the details of the performance. Jay Morrison, as far as I know, is the only Black person that I know of that's taken advantage of Reg A, Tier 1, Tier 2 fund. I think he has a Tier 2 fund, either Tier 1, Tier 2 fund. Out of the Jobs Act came the Reg A, right? So Reg A allows you to essentially raise a fund by accessing public dollars. Before it had to be, you had to raise money from accredited investors and institutional investors, right? Like pension funds and funds of funds, right? But then Reg A came out, and now I got people emailing me, companies emailing me saying, yeah, well, we'll show you how to put together a Reg A fund, a Tier 1, Tier 2 fund. So now ordinary, everyday people like you and I can start our own investment funds. I don't think you couldn't do that a couple years ago. Right? So when we're talking about the colonizers and I'm sorry, but they're making this thing kind of easier. They're bringing down the barriers to entry. So is it them or is it us at this point?
I'm not sure. That's the question. The question is what can we do? Because we're at a breaking point where we have to do something, right? Like we live in the confines of a whole bunch of total institutions that are happening. In my opinion, economics is one of them, right? And so for us to stop, we all know what the problem is, right? We hear it all the time. We have trillions of dollars in spending and our money doesn't circulate in the Black community compared to other communities. We hear these things all the time, right?
Yeah.
But then, so what are actionable solutions that we can do right now, right? Because before it was access to education. I know so many Black folks that have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, PhDs, certifications, write books, talk all over the place. So it can't be intellectual capacity at this point, right? So we have many homes sitting by way of degrees on our walls. So we got that, right? But we're still struggling with this same issue of trying to build the Black community, right? And what do we do? So something isn't clicking in a right space or spot. And what I don't want to happen is that this is a conversation that continues to happen for generations to generations to generate. Every generation blames the generation before, right? So
In
now
our community, yeah.
millennials are in a spot where, you know, Gen Z is looking at us like we're crazy because they're like, "Oh, I don't understand what's happening." So I'm sure that conversation is going to start happening soon. And
Yeah.
then when you look at I think like the generation of my son is like an something alpha. So I don't want him looking at me like I'm crazy. And now I have to explain using the same rhetoric that the generations before me have used. So if we have access to technology, we have access to almost every industry. We are educated. We are energized. We are understanding what these issues are. We can articulate it. So now what is the solution and how do we mobilize to become part of the solution and not part of the rhetoric? Because I'm just trying to figure out like, what can we do as cohesive groups of people that have expertise in something to figure out how to move forward? Because I think it's in many ways it's on us now, right? Like we cannot blame the people before us. I mean, we have the most access. We are our generation that has the most access right now. You know, like when you think about people in their late 40s and early 50s, for them to start a business was much harder. You know, we can start a business by just opening up an Instagram account and bam, I'm sending my message out to the world that this is what I'm doing and this is why I think that is great. So if we have access and we can leverage, what do we do to connect Black economics in a meaningful way?
I mean, just so many. So I think whomever you're talking to, you're going to get a different answer, and I think every answer that you get is the right answer. Why do I say that? Because it's going to take so many moving parts to it, and each person is bringing a piece of the
Mm-hmm.
puzzle. That being said, what I think, so my piece of the puzzle, this is my piece, is we're all bringing different solution. It is a responsibility for each one of us to bring a solution. So because no one solution is the right answer, it's going to take a multitude of things. So my solution, the one that I'm supposed to bring, the piece that I believe was placed inside of me that I'm supposed to bring into this realm. One is I think we've got to trash Martin Luther King's vision. Number one, because his vision became everyone's vision, and I don't think it's no longer the right vision for where we are right now. Because again, we are in a lab. This world is a lab, right? I think when we came out with the vision, it was jobs and integration and being amongst other people, and we lost that cohesiveness, right? I think everything starts with a vision. Every company has a mission first. And from that mission, all business activities extend from that mission. I'll give you a quick example. I did a co-op at Johnson and Johnson. So it's like a long-term internship. And I remember I would walk through the halls. I can't sit in one place for too long. So I would walk through the halls and crack, 80s era with the crack and everything. But I would walk around and everywhere in the building would be the Johnson Johnson Credo. And I remember I just stand there and I'm like, wow, their Credo is everywhere in this building. And I just stand there and I would do this I was there for 8 months or something like that. And by the time I was done doing that, I had internalized their Credo, right? Like my work, right, extended from the Credo. I don't even remember what the Credo is. I just remember how it made me feel reading it. I remember
Mm.
standing there I remember standing there looking at it, and every time I would read it, how it made me feel. And my work and my activities from the day extended from that credo, right? Their credo was their mission. They call it a credo, but it's a mission. It's a vision statement. So I say that to say we need a new vision statement, a new mission statement, a new credo. The one that Martin gave us is no is I think we should trash it and come up with a new one.
Well then,
Sorry.
who's gonna do it? Who is the person? Who is the person? I think for many people, we thought Obama was the new person to give us the new the updated vision, right?
Right.
So now if I'm hearing you, you're saying like we need to trash all of that, or maybe
Yeah.
not trash it. We
No,
need
let's trash it.
to
Let's just start from, let's clear the
start
blank.
over.
Yeah, let's
We
clear the board and
cannot.
let's whiteboard this thing. Let's whiteboard this thing.
Listen, Kenyetta, I'm gonna have to like respectfully disagree. We can't just go around restarting. We have to figure out how to take the learnings of our leaders, past, present, whatever, and figure out how to take the good and like to extract the things that we know didn't work out so well, and then maybe
Oh
redesign
yeah,
the.
let's use our reference points for sure. Yeah, let's use our reference points. But yes, let's trash the whole thing. Let's just whiteboard the whole thing. Yeah, let's trash it. Let's start
And
from.
so if we're thinking about, in many ways, you're saying start over,
Yeah,
then what is
well,
that?
that's the
What does
beauty of it.
that? What does that look like? What are we going to need to in order to do that then? What do we need? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Who are the new leaders of today? Is it the
It's
black
you and I
politicians?
and people who are watching this and everyone. So again, so let me go back. I strayed, but let me go back because well, let's start. Let's go back to point A. So now new vision, right? So I stated I believe, and I'm bringing my spiritual belief system into this conversation because I believe that these things are connected. Everything is connected. So I'm going to bring my beliefs into this conversation. That I think that we are all a puzzle. Something was placed inside of us, and it's our responsibility to bring a piece. So my solution may not be someone else's solution, right? Because they're supposed to bring a different piece. Maybe this person is about putting the messages out of Black families and supporting Black single mothers because 72% of Black children are growing up in single parent homes, right? That's going to be one problem that needs to be addressed, but that's not my solution because that's not the one I'm supposed to be bringing. Mine is economics. I believe that in this country, what I think is I recommend first understanding how money works in this country, understand reading, staying abreast of regulations as it pertains to money. That means signing up to the Securities Exchange Commission, reading through their website. What are they saying about money? What are the laws that are being put in place? Right. I'm just talking about no interest rates and no the stock market. No, no, no. I'm saying go deeper than that. What are the regulations that impacts money? And a lot of this information is on the Securities Exchange Commission's website. So staying abreast of that, like Reg A, all that stuff I'm talking about, Jobs Act, Reg CF, all that's on their website. So staying abreast of that. Inundating oneself, not watching local news, like, yeah, Tyrone got shot at 7 and Taiwan was involved. No, no, no. We got to watch the global news, global economic news. And I'm not saying that everything that they're saying is right, but I think what it does, like BBC and CNBC, what it helps one do is start to connect the dots. What's happening with oil, right? Because what's happening in oil will affect the price of oil here, and it will affect the price of chicken and eggs in 1 week, and bread and all of that, right? Like it's all connected. So for me, it's understanding money and not just watching the stock market like, oh, Disney went up a couple dollars. No, I'm talking about understanding the inner workings of capitalism in this country. So that for me, it's reading books that were written, when the Great Depression happened, um, what policies came out of that, what new legislation came out of that, and how is it affecting us today? What's coming out of Capitol Hill in terms of new laws and how it's going to affect money. So for me, it's understanding money, right? But that's just one piece for me. Like it's so many other solutions too as well.
I think what I'm hearing you say is like a point that I made earlier, is that we have to get back to thinking. I think that we have become intellectually lazy in many respects, right? Like we don't necessarily want to put the time in. Like the things that you're suggesting are not sexy stuff, right? Who wants to go read and think about legislation and what does this mean? How does that impact my life? How does it not? How do I push in different areas of society to get the things that I feel like I need? I think that there are more people that do not want to spend the time doing that compared to people that do. But I think with the people that can do it and want to, that we can start to shake some stuff up a bit
Yeah, I
around
mean,
economics.
1% a day, like it doesn't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have a television. Like if I did, I would probably have CNBC on or something like that. But my daughter wouldn't. You know, I'm not saying that she runs my
My
household.
co-host
But
on Wednesday, my co-host a sister, Tasemere, if you definitely want to jump in, please do. I put the link
oh,
in
what did she say? I saw something there. I
the
didn't see it.
comments. Definitely come in and give your
BBLs.
take.
What's BBLs?
Yeah, what is BBLs? Let us know. Educate us on this.
BBLs.
I just want to continue to use this platform in particular, along with other platforms that I might have access to in my own,
Yeah.
to continue to think about what Tamara said, stop using our money on Brazilian butt lifts. I would agree.
Oh, Brazilian butt lifts.
I will agree.
Well, that's all right. Devil's advocate. I'm only gonna time me on this because I don't want to stray too far from the point. So time me on this. To the sisters, Tamara's point about the Brazilian butt lift. I understand why sisters are investing in this stuff because we got money for that. Well, yes, that I understand why the sisters are we live in a world where Black women are subconsciously and rather inadvertently, not subconsciously, but inadvertently being told that they're not beautiful. And so it's very subtle, but you see it. It's in a lot of places. I see it often. I see it on social media. I see it coming from Black men saying, "Oh, the Hispanics women are your competition." I mean, I see all kind of crazy stuff online. So I understand why the sisters are investing in their looks. I understand because the woman wants to be told that she wants to feel beautiful, and there's a lot of stuff going around, a lot of talk from the brothers and other places from TV magazines that are telling the women, Black women subconsciously that they're not beautiful. So I'm not judging that. I understand why they're doing it. I understand. So no judgment on that part.
Well, for me, I just feel like I'm gonna have to take more of Tamara's thing. Like, I just feel that sometimes we give people too much power to dictate how we feel about ourselves. And I know that that's like individual work for individual people. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that as a collective, if we started just doing the work on ourselves to become more confident and more accepting, that no matter what someone else tells us to be, look, do, feel, act, whatever the thing is, you will be comfortable in that. Like, so to also give some transparency, yesterday I was talking to Kenyetta on Zoom. My hair was all jacked up, right? Now, for some people, hair is very important, right? And for some folks, a certain look, a certain aesthetic is very important, right? And I get that. And I'm not going to like downplay that. Everybody has to do whatever they need to do in order to
Feel
feel
beautiful.
confident and not go too extreme. To me, I think a Brazilian butt lift is a little bit more extreme. But I also think that we have to start defining beauty for ourselves. Because when we don't, to relate this back to economics, we're sold any and everything to go out and buy it. And then what's happening? People are getting these Brazilian injections. They're not the right ones. Now they have to go figure out how to take them out. More surgery is impacting their legs and they can't stand and they have all these other issues going on. And how does that play into the economics? I would say having scars on your butt from getting injections to make it bigger, and now you got to go get a surgery to take the injections out. I don't know how that will be sexy. I don't understand. I think it's a little counterproductive, especially when you think about you probably could have took whatever that money was that you spent on the Brazilian butt lift to do something else with.
I don't want to. Right. I don't want us to stray too far from what we were talking about, but I will say, I wonder, I'm someone who got made fun. I got made fun of a lot when I was growing up. Like, I still deal with issues of self-esteem. So, and I had a cosmetic surgery to make my teeth straight. So, it was a costly surgery, but my insurance covered it largely. So I understand. I just wonder, what did those women go through? Because I grew up in the projects, and people can be harsh, man. People can be
Mm-hmm.
harsh. And I still replay things that was said to me when I was a kid sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't know what it is about the mind. This is why you have to be very disciplined with your mind. We're talking about us not being intellectual. It's because we're not taught how to control our minds, right? Like, we are taught that we are, in many ways, at the whim of our thoughts. But how many people are taught to actually meditate and control the direction of your thoughts and what you're thinking, right? Like, why is it that I still replay things? I could just be sitting here working on something, and a random thought would occur in my mind when somebody said, "Damn, bitch, you ugly." Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Where did that come from? Right? Why did my mind feed me that thought? What do you know what I'm saying? And a lot of our minds are working like that towards us, where you'll be in a mirror, and your mind will feed you a thought that somebody said when you were 12, like, "Ooh, she mad ugly. Her lips are big, she mad dark," right? And so a lot of sisters are dealing with that. So I try not to judge the sisters too much, because there's a lot with that isn't being talked about how women are being talked to by their parents, how they're being talked to by aunts and uncles, how they're being, you know, touchy feelies by adults when they're kids. A lot. I'm not gonna touch that. That's too
I
heavy.
think so. I think, like, when we were talking earlier about mindset, this might be some of those things or elements of that impacts people's ability to, I don't want to say move forward, but people's ability to think on other levels of what is possible, right? And so maybe there's a lot of, I know we talk a lot about a lot of trauma from being enslaved people, right? But I think that there is a lot of trauma within our community that maybe, like, we have to also heal each other, right? And maybe we also have to speak power and confidence into each other if we are truly going to really buy back the block, right? Like, maybe we have to be examples of support, showing what support really looks like, showing what loving words look like, showing what partnership collaboration can look like, and maybe modeling that for some folks, so that way maybe if we do it, maybe it'll get better as we go along, and maybe eventually we will be able to control some of our spending in ways that really matter, and we can move off of the rhetoric and get on something else. Because that's I'm trying to figure this out in my lifetime of what I
Oh,
can
you
do,
won't. It won't. Yeah, this is the
right?
ground.
what
This
what
is
what
not.
I can do
Yeah.
to try to just make it a tad bit better, because economics ties into everything else. It ties into thoughts and notions about freedom and happiness, and thoughts and notions about what helps you elevate to be a better thinker, a better leader, a better conversationalist, right? A better, um, really just like a better version of who you are, right? And I think that we have come up with some dialogue here that maybe we
It's
can
it's a lot to
start
unpack. I don't think
to.
we're gonna do it in an hour.
I know. I think we
Well,
have
let's.
come up with some dialogue here as maybe not even a starting point, but a discussion point, right? Of,
Yeah.
like, if I can empower you to move forward with 6 Gen Venture Studios, because that's what your passion is, and that's how you're going to impact Black economics. And you in turn empower me with the things that I'm doing with the DM firm and
Likewise.
co-founding the brunch pitch and, having this Blackout show. Maybe if we, in our acts of camaraderie, right, we're able to build little pockets of Black economics that start to model what we think we would like to see. Even if we know we aren't going to see it, come to pass in our quote unquote lifetime, but we are at least trying to be part of a solution that's
No, we're
much
not
bigger
trying.
than
We're
you
doing
and
it.
I.
We're doing it. We're not
Yeah.
trying. We're doing it. Yeah, we're not trying. We're doing it.
So tell the people before we have to go.
Yeah.
Again, what 6Gen, and see, I have to say it slow because it's like a tongue twister for me. 6Gen
I know, I like 6Gen Labs, but
Studios. Tell us again what that is, what you're doing, how people can get involved, how people can connect with you and stay connected. Kenyetta's coming back once a month, y'all. Just needed to make the announcement here live, so now she can't back out of it. She's coming back once a month. We're going to have a segment just exploring venture capital, the industry, the space, what she's doing out in Colorado with Black folks and trying to move this needle forward in that direction. So I just wanted to give you some final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts. So 6Gen Venture Studio, I know it's a tongue twister. It's labs, but I couldn't use it because of the whole fiscal sponsorship thing. But yeah, so our goal is to act as an institutional co-founder for Black founders to get them from solopreneurship to actual companies, right, to scale. So that being said, and we're, I'm building out the framework now for that. So with that being said, my final thought, you said give a final thought?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're not going to figure it out, but my final thought is, what I want to leave. I think it's a new vision. I really think it's scrapping the one that MLK gave us and coming up with a new one. And for my vision that I have is, this is my final thought. I personally have scrapped MLK's vision. It's trash. It's going in the trash. It's there. My new vision is a full-on companies and communities that are Black-led, Black-run, where we can be our whole Black selves, that we don't have to reduce our Blackness to fit in, but that we are running our companies, running our communities, right? And that's my new vision. My vision is the opposite of integration. It is not even segregation, but it is one where we run where we work and we run where we live. We can be our whole Black selves. And so with that, I would say, I believe that anything is possible. I know it's cliche. I believe it's possible, but the work that we're doing now is for the next 100 years, and we may not see the results. And I'm okay with that. And I think that we have to be okay with that. China has I think their plan is now 500 years. Last I heard, it was 100, but I feel like I heard the number 500. I feel like somebody said 500. I don't know. People make stuff up online, but they definitely do have they definitely do have a 100-year plan. So the work that we're doing now, I don't expect to see the results, but I'm confident that Eva, my daughter, will see the results. So that will be my final thought.
Thank you so much, Kenyetta, for joining us today.
Thank you for having
my viewers out there, thank you so much for tuning into the Blackout Live from New York with me, Tasemere. I'm here every Saturday at 10:15. Like I said, Kenyetta will be a guest. I do have an op-ed coming out.
I thought you said 10:30.
No, girl, 10:15.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you said 10:30. I don't know where I got that number from.
I don't know. Kenyetta,
why is she calling me now? Is this like a test run?
I am coming out with an op-ed that is going to be on this platform. You definitely have to check out Donnie Glover, the founder of BlackUSA.news and Be More News. I I don't know why my mind is freezing up. I have an op-ed coming out entitled Liberal Arts and Entrepreneurship Through the Lens of Black Exploitation Films. I'm super excited about it, giving people that work. I will also be talking at a university later on this month, so make sure you tune in so you can keep up with those details. Again, this is Tasemere, the Blackout Live from New York. Looking forward to connecting with you guys next week. Ciao.
Thank you.